Hello, out there in Facebook world. I uh, I thought it would be a good idea today to talk a little bit about what's going on, especially obviously with what happened in New Zealand. You know, as a rabbi, I'm often given the opportunity to reflect on and then speak about things that affect whether it's my congregation or the grand community at large. And usually it's on pretty good things, you know, whether it's a bar mitzvah or a party or a birthday or something like that. And these kinds of things, of course, are very happy. When things affect my community on a negative sense, whether it's the death of a member or a beloved family member of somebody in a congregation, then obviously these are different kind. It's a different kind of reaction, a different kind of feelings. But we recognize that life brings us all kinds of events. It's a life cycle. So when a person dies or when a family member dies, it hurts, no matter how old or young they are. But we recognize that, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, that death is a part of life. It's a cycle. But that's, I don't want to say normal death, normal science, biology, whatever you say, but when something happens like what happened in New Zealand, it brings on a whole different array of emotions. You know, I was thinking about this the other day, thinking about how lucky I have been in my life to be a part of Jewish communities and interfaith communities that were all kinds of religious people, all kinds of people from different nations, different countries, different parts of the world, old, young, and everything in between. And I've been pretty lucky in my life to be a part of these really fantastic communities that very much support each other. When things happen that are terrorist attacks or mass shootings, you know, it affects us. It connects. It touches us in ways that we can't always necessarily understand. When the Pittsburgh synagogue shooting happened, you know, it hit my community here in Knoxville because we have members of our community that grew up there. And we immediately came together as a Jewish community, all the synagogues and all the organizations, to put together some kind of event in which we could come together basically and talk about how strong we are, talk about how we stay together, talk about praying together and supporting those in our community. And at our prayer vigil that was held at the AJCC, the Arnstein Jewish Community Center, depending on who you ask, we had between 700 and 1,000 people there. And the majority of them were not Jewish. So our community really came out and supported us. And I'm not going to say that any of us believed that meant that life was all of a sudden going to be perfect and everyone was going to be happy and everyone was going to love each other. Although I will say that is what we are seeking. We want to get to a place in which we do love each other and we do recognize that differences are not a bad thing, that we can disagree without being disagreeable. When I was in my house last night watching something on the television with Bacha, my wife, and then I saw across my news feed this terrible attack on these two mosques in New Zealand. For a second, I thought, oh, it's just more news. And then I actually looked at the headline and I thought, oh, I don't want to believe for a moment that it's become normal in the United States of America for this kind of thing to happen. And I don't want anyone to think that I believe that way. But then I was like, but it's New Zealand. It really does show something very important, very vital, and that is we are all human. It doesn't matter whether we live in the United States, in Mexico, in Canada, in England, or wherever, New Zealand. We're all human beings, and hate and misunderstanding and ignorance is everywhere. It's not something that the United States of America owns the market on. The truth is, when we disagree with somebody, when we see somebody that we don't understand or that we're different, the initial thought should be, let me learn about that person. Let me see that person, where they are, who they are. That, unfortunately, is not what happens. What happens too often is what we have been seeing over the last few years, really for a lot longer than that, but especially focused on the last few years. Hate. Well, do you know where hate comes from? It comes from the people that teach us. It comes from the things that influence us. When we're born into this world, we don't come out with hate. It's taught to us by those that we come in contact with. Now, as hard as it may seem, as hard as it may be to understand, we need to look at the people that we don't understand or don't agree with and see B'Tselem Elohim. The image of God is in each of us. If you are actually able to look at the person that you don't agree with or you don't understand and say, you're a human being, I may not understand you, but I love you because you're a human being. When we're able to say, even if you don't say you love them, even if you say, I accept that you're different, I accept that we don't always agree about things. But we have to recognize that we're all B'Tselem Elohim. We're all, the image of God is in all of us, whether we want to admit that or not. A couple weeks ago, I was at a conference in Houston, and during the conference, we started talking about being in sacred partnership. The idea that when two people stand in front of each other to talk about something, you start with the idea of sacred partnership. And what that is that each person looks at the other and sees holiness. I'm sacred, you're sacred. Together we have a sacred partnership. If we can do that, that's the key. It really does seem simple, but it's one of the hardest things that we do. Just yesterday, I was driving to the temple for work, and I passed by a business on the way, and as I was driving by, this man in a truck was next to me, and he looked like he was stopped, but I wasn't sure, but I kept going because he wasn't in my lane, and I got past him, and he honked his horn at me, and as I was passing by, I looked in my rearview mirror, and I could see that he, I believe, did some kind of hand gesture and probably said some things underneath, or not underneath, but probably said some things pretty loudly. And I thought, what did I do? I didn't see his blinker. And then I thought, you know what? I didn't feel good about that. So I actually turned around and went around and came back to this parking lot. And you can see the picture in your mind now. I pull my car in. I'm diagonally behind him. I'm not blocking him in completely, but I'm diagonally behind him. And I get out of my car. I think I might have left it running. I'm not sure. And I go over and I'm like waving at him, not hitting his window. And he rolls his window down about that much. Who knows? He could have been, he didn't know what I was going to say. And I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, I'm sorry. I want to apologize. I didn't see your blinker in time. I don't know, I was paying attention, but I should have let you over, and I'm sorry that happened. And then he rolled his window all the way down and he said, I am 66 years old and no one has ever apologized on the road. Now, I want to tell you, I'm not saying this because it makes, because I don't want to make it look like I'm, great or anything. But in that moment, when I went from anger to, you know what, maybe I can turn this around. And I came back to him and apologized. It didn't hurt me to apologize. Do I think that I was 100% wrong? No, but that doesn't matter. I took the moment. I didn't know this guy, but now we made a connection. He told me his name. I told him my name. We both remarked about the fact that we're transplants to Knoxville. But that was the point. The point was, even that interaction became a sacred partnership because I provided him the opportunity to see God in me, and just like I could see God in him. It's such a simple thing. And then I get home and I see what's going on about New Zealand, and I'm terrified. I'm scared for the children, my children, our children. But I understand that fear and that anger that I'm feeling is not going to do anything but cause me more pain and more stress. What needs to happen is we need to embrace each other, learn about each other. There was, when what happened in Pittsburgh, when the attack happened, the message came out from Pittsburgh: stronger together. That's it. Stronger together. Stronger through love. This is the message. So tonight at Temple Beth El, in our community, at our service, I am going to light a Yortzeit candle, a memorial candle at the beginning of service, and it's going to burn through our service. And it is going to be to remember those who were brutally killed in New Zealand. It is a way for me to show our Muslim community here in Knoxville and abroad that we support you. We stand with you hand in hand in fighting against people who live their lives through hate. And I'm going to be reciting a prayer, reading a prayer that I wrote a few months ago about another terrorist attack that I believe fits very well with this, with today. In our service tonight, we are recognizing, we are focusing on the sisterhood and the impact that these very strong women and strong individuals have had on our community, as we remember those that came before us, not just those that died in New Zealand, but those who have passed away from any terrorist attack. Because the truth of the matter is, life is like a balance. It's not like a balance. Life is a balance. While we celebrate greatness, that celebration must always be tempered with a remembrance of what came before. So as we mourn, we celebrate. We do this together because life is a balance. May we one day, from my mouth to God's ears, as my mother used to say, may we one day live in a world in which the love way outweighs the hate. May we make it to a place in our lives where we can walk out on the street with our children and not worry whether or not we'll make it to where we're going. May God bless each of us, no matter where we are from, no matter what our religion is, no matter what our background is. May we love the differences we have in each other, and may God continue to give us strength to spread this message, because the message of love is much harder, but much more important than the message of hate. Thank you.